My sister slapped my daughter's hand in front of everyone. "This is why we can't have messy things." She laughed loudly. My dad smirked and said, "Well, she needed to learn some shame." But they didn't know the high-definition video camera was on. The one my BROTHRINLA W. Trevor had set up to film the legacy portrait shoot. Life into living hell. I didn't scream. I didn't make a scene. I didn't give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. I just picked up my 6-year-old daughter Sophia, scooped her box of crayons off the pristine white floor, and I started walking. I walked right past the 5-course catered lunch table. I walked past the shocked magazine editor, who was supposed to be documenting our perfect family. Behind me, I heard Olivia's voice, sharp and annoyed. "Emily, don't be so dramatic. You're ruining the shot." I didn't turn around. I just kept walking, my daughter's silent sobs muffled against my shoulder as we left the vineyard. On the drive home, Sophia was quiet. She just sat in her car seat, staring at the stinging red mark on her tiny hand. The anger inside me wasn't hot. It was cold. It was sharp. It was the kind of anger that doesn't burn, it cuts. I had spent my entire life being the messy one, the convenient problem, the scapegoat in their perfect world, and I had tolerated it. I had swallowed the insults, the dismissals, the invisibility, but they had crossed a line. They had put their hands on my child. I got home. I put Sophia to bed, tucked her in with her favorite stuffed bear, and I kissed the little hand that still held a broken blue crayon. I waited until I heard her breathing even out. Then I opened my laptop. Olivia's perfect life wasn't just built on her 7-figure asset management job. It was built on my invisible support. I was the one who had co-signed the lease on her exclusive art gallery storefront, a little passion project she used for networking. They wouldn't give it to her on her own credit, but I had a perfect record. I was also the one who managed and paid for the family cloud server and security plan. It was registered under my name, my credit card. It was the digital backbone that her entire work-from-home system relied on. I didn't cry. I didn't draft an angry text. I just clicked. 11:58 p.m. Confirm cancellation of co-signature on gallery lease, effective immediately. The system notified me that the landlord would be informed of the breach within 24 hours. 11:59 p.m. Confirm cancellation of family data and security plan. All data to be permanently deleted at end of billing cycle. They thought I was just the messy baker. They forgot I was the only one who knew how to read the fine print. This is why my retaliation was so cold. So fast. Because it wasn't about one slap. It was about a lifetime of being their invisible foundation. My family worships one thing, the appearance of success. Olivia, my sister, was their masterpiece. She went to Wharton, married Trevor, managed money. I was the artistic one, their polite word for failure. I became a baker. While my parents, Robert and Patricia, paid for Olivia's MBA without blinking, I worked double shifts at a diner to save enough to go to culinary school. For the past 5 years, I've been the family's silent fixer. Olivia is the face of the family's charitable foundation, but I'm the one who does all the back-end administrative work for free. I maintain the donor database. I process the donations. I'm the one who makes sure the thank you letters actually get sent. And my father, Robert. 2 years ago, he called me, his voice low and panicked. He'd mismanaged his investments and was about to lose his precious vineyard property to a tax lien. He needed $30,000, immediately. I didn't tell him I was a month away from finally putting a down payment on my own small bakery. I just quietly emptied my business savings account and paid his back taxes. I never mentioned it again. I just fixed it. My messy life as a baker, working with flour and sugar and real tangible ingredients, was something they looked down on, but my messy life was the only real thing any of us had. So why did I even go to that vineyard? Why did I walk back into that perfect, curated, toxic environment? I went because of Sophia. She had seen the invitation, seen the pictures of the fancy party at the vineyard, and she was so excited. And I still had that tiny, stupid, hopeful part of me, the part that thought maybe this time it will be different. Maybe this time they'll see me. Maybe this time they'll see my daughter. It's the invisible chain of the survivor. When you grow up in a prison that doesn't have bars, you learn to live with the chains. You learn to call them family. You learn to call the abuse just the way they are. You develop something called learned helplessness. It's this deep, irrational guilt that makes you feel like you owe them something. Your time, your money, your presence. You feel like maybe, just maybe, if you're good enough, quiet enough, and helpful enough this time, you might finally earn their approval. You keep walking back into the cage even when you know it's a trap. I had been wearing those chains my entire life. But when Olivia's hand hit my daughter's, she didn't just break Sophia's crayon. She broke those chains. The next morning, the calls started. I had just poured my first cup of coffee when my phone lit up. It was a text from Olivia. I braced myself, thinking maybe, just maybe, she'd had time to reflect. Maybe she'd apologize. I was wrong. The text read, "Very mature, Emily. Turning off the cloud server. You're just proving you can't handle adult situations. The gallery landlord just called me furious. You need to fix this. Now." She was angry that I had undone the very things I was doing to support her. Not a single word about Sophia. Not a single word about slapping my child. It was all about the inconvenience I had caused her. Before I could even process the audacity, my phone rang. My mother, Patricia. I let it ring 3 times, took a deep breath, and answered. "Emily, we need to talk about your behavior." Her voice wasn't warm, it wasn't concerned, it was furious. "You embarrassed every single one of us at that shoot. The magazine editor was appalled at your outburst. You need to call Olivia and apologize." I almost dropped the phone. Apologize. Yes, apologize. You ruined her day. You have always been this way, Emily. So dramatic. You couldn't just let her have her moment. You had to make it about you. I sat down. The coffee was bitter in my mouth. They were demanding I apologize for my daughter being hit. And that's when I understood. It's the trap of the golden child. When you're the golden child like Olivia, your entire identity is built on being perfect. Your perfection is a prison you live in, and it's a performance you demand everyone else participate in. You don't just want approval, you need it to survive. And my daughter Sophia, with her crayons and her messy creativity, she didn't just stain a painting. She represented authenticity. She was a threat to Olivia's curated, perfect, sterile world. Sophia's messiness had to be punished. It had to be controlled. Olivia wasn't just slapping my daughter's hand. She was slapping down the one thing she couldn't tolerate: imperfection. And she is physically incapable of apologizing because in her mind she did nothing wrong. In her world, the stain is the crime, not the slap. This realization solidified something in me. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was clarity. "No," I said. My mother paused. "What did you say?" I said no. I will not be apologizing. Not today. Not ever. You need to handle this. You're the one who created this mess. I hung up the phone. Their complete lack of remorse, their insistence that I was the problem. It was the final green light I needed. This wasn't just a family dispute anymore. That afternoon, there was a knock on my apartment door. I wasn't expecting anyone. My heart jumped thinking it was Olivia or my mother coming to escalate their demands in person. I looked through the peephole and my blood ran cold. It was Trevor, Olivia's husband. He looked awful. He hadn't shaved. The expensive suit he'd worn at the vineyard was rumpled, his tie loosened. He looked exhausted. I opened the door, leaving the chain on. Trevor. He didn't try to push his way in. He just looked at me, his eyes hollow. Can I talk to you for a second, Emily? Please." I hesitated, then slowly unlatched the chain. He stepped inside, running a hand through his hair. "I shouldn't be here. Olivia would kill me if she knew I was here." "What do you want?" I asked, staying near the door. He reached into his suit pocket and pulled out a small, sleek black USB drive. He held it out to me. "I need you to have this," he said, his voice low. I stared at it. "What is it?" "She was editing the footage last night," he said, avoiding my eyes. "The behind-the-scenes video. She was going to use the clip." I didn't understand. Use it how I thought she'd just delete it. He finally met my gaze, and I saw a deep, profound shame in his eyes. "No, not delete it. Use it. For the magazine article." I felt sick. "What are you talking about?" She was cutting it together, he said, his voice cracking. She was framing it. She was going to call it a real, unfiltered family moment. A teaching moment about gentle discipline. She said it would make her look relatable as a future mother. She said it showed she wasn't afraid of the messy parts of parenting. The room tilted. She wasn't just going to hide what she did. She was going to rebrand it. She was going to take the footage of my daughter's humiliation and use it as PR. I've been watching her stage manage our entire life for 5 years. Trevor continued, his voice barely a whisper. The parties, the charity events, even our vacations are just photo ops. I went along with it. It was easier. But this, hitting a child, and then trying to spin it, to use it for content. He pushed the USB drive into my hand. It's the full unedited 4 Kelvins file. From 3 different camera angles, the slap, the audio, your parents, smirking, her laugh. It's all there. Undeniable. Why are you giving this to me? I whispered. Because, he said, looking at my apartment door at the scuffed welcome mat. You and Sophia deserve better. And, honestly, I think I do too. I can't be married to that. Not anymore. He turned and left without another word. I stood there for a long time, the small black drive heavy in my hand. This wasn't just a family issue anymore. This was professional. And she had just given me the weapon. I didn't post the video. That's what she would have done. She would have posted it, added a filter, written a long, self-serving caption about her pain, and tried to rally public anger. But I'm not like her. I'm not messy. I'm a baker. I know the importance of precision. I sat at my computer with that 4 Kelvins footage. This wasn't a family issue anymore. It was a professional one. She had tried to turn my daughter's humiliation into a brand asset. So I would respond professionally. I didn't want to just win an argument. I wanted to dismantle the entire machine. Olivia's entire reputation, her perfect life, wasn't just built on her job. It was built on her public image. She was the celebrated keynote speaker, the mentor for women in finance. Most importantly, she was the public face and chairwoman of the Girls Who Invest Charitable Foundation, a fund aimed at empowering underprivileged young women. I spent an hour researching the foundation. I found the names of the 2 largest corporate donors, a major bank and a tech firm, both of which had recent press releases praising their commitment to empowering young women. I found the email for the chairwoman of the board. I found the email for the editor of the Society magazine that had been covering the legacy portrait shoot. I drafted a calm professional email. No emotion, no accusations, just cold hard facts. The subject line was simple: urgent concerning conduct of Olivia last name at legacy portrait event. The email was even simpler. To the board chair, esteemed donors and editorial staff. As a fellow advocate for child well-being and a witness to the attached, I felt ethically obligated to share this footage. The incident involves Olivia, last name, at a recent family event. The video speaks for itself. Sincerely, Emily. I took Trevor's file and edited it. I didn't need the whole thing. I just needed 30 seconds. The 30 seconds showing Sophia happy drawing, Olivia walking over her face tight with annoyance, the sharp, clear smack on my daughter's small hand, the gasp, and then Olivia's cruel laugh. This is why we can't have messy things. I made sure to include the audio of my father's smirk and my mother's chuckle. I attached the high-definition video file, and I hit send. The fallout wasn't just fast. It was immediate. It was catastrophic. The Society magazine didn't just pull the story. The editor personally emailed me to apologize, saying they were running an exposé on the hypocrisy of the legacy portrait shoot instead. They even used a few censored stills from the video I had sent. The 2 major corporate donors didn't just quietly back away. They issued public press releases within hours stating they were retracting all funding from the Girls Who Invest Foundation, citing a severe misalignment of core values. The charity board, facing a public relations nightmare and the sudden loss of 7 figures in funding, called an emergency meeting. By the next afternoon, they had unanimously voted to remove Olivia as chair, effective immediately. Her perfect reputation, the one she had spent a decade building, the one she had hit my child to protect, was gone in less than 48 hours. Now my mother showed up. She didn't text, she didn't call. She just appeared at my apartment door, pounding on it like she was trying to break it down. When I opened it, she looked unrecognizable. Her face was pale and blotchy, her eyes red and swollen. The perfect, curated mask was gone. "You've ruined her," she cried, pushing past me into my living room. "You've ruined your sister. You have to fix this." I just stood there watching her pace my small kitchen. "Call them," she begged, grabbing my arm. "Call those donors, call that magazine, tell them you lied, tell them the video was a misunderstanding, a deepfake, anything, tell them you were jealous, just fix this, Emily." I looked at her, at this woman who had chuckled as my daughter was humiliated, who had demanded I apologize, and I felt nothing. Just quiet. "I can't," I said calmly. "It's on video, Mom. It's the truth. The one thing you can't spin." "Please, Emily," she sobbed, clutching her hands together. "She's your sister. She's lost everything. Her job, her reputation, Trevor. Trevor is talking about leaving her. You have to do something." I looked at her for a long, quiet moment. "You're right," I said. "I should do something." I walked to my desk, picked up a single piece of paper, and walked back. I held it out to her. She stared at it, confused. "What? What is this?" "It's the bill," I said. She took it with a shaking hand. "That's the invoice for the $30,000 in back taxes I paid on Dad's property 2 years ago. And under that, an itemized invoice for 480 hours of pro bono administrative work for your charity over the last 5 years. The total is $54,000. She looked from the paper to my face, her eyes wide with disbelief. "You wanted me to fix this, Mom," I said, my voice perfectly level. "I just did. That's my bill. I'm sending a copy to your lawyer." She stood there speechless, the invoice fluttering in her hand. "Goodbye, Mom." And for the first time in my life, I closed the door on her. The old family structure didn't just crack, it imploded. Trevor, true to his word, filed for divorce. He told me later that the video didn't just show him who Olivia was, it showed him who he had become by enabling her. He left and he took his tech director's salary with him. My parents, faced with my $54,000 invoice, which my lawyer confirmed was ironclad, and the public humiliation from the magazine expose, had no choice. They couldn't maintain their image. They sold the vineyard property at a loss just to cover their debts. Olivia. I heard she lost her job, her social standing, and her husband in the span of a month. She had based her entire life on a perfect image, and when that image shattered, there was nothing left underneath. But my life blossomed. That same Society magazine that had run the expose on Olivia, they contacted me. They wanted to do a feature, but this time on my small bakery. They called it a story of radical authenticity. My messy bakery, the one they had all mocked, was suddenly featured in a 3-page spread. I used the new platform, the new attention, not to gloat. I used it to build. I started Messy Hands baking classes for kids right in my shop. A safe space for them to be creative, to make mistakes, to get covered in flour, and to celebrate their own imperfections without fear. The final scene isn't about them. It's about us. It's a Tuesday afternoon 6 months later. My bakery is loud with the sound of children laughing. Sophia and I are in our own kitchen, both of us covered in flour batter on our noses. She's holding up a drawing. It's not on a fancy canvas. It's on bright yellow construction paper. It's a new family portrait. It's just the two of us holding hands, surrounded by a dozen colorful, messy splotches of paint. She hands it to me, and I hang it right in the center of the kitchen wall. And we are both smiling. This is a letter to anyone who has ever been made to feel messy in a world that demands perfection. To anyone who has been told to be quiet, to shrink, to make space for someone else's ego. To anyone who has ever felt like they were on the edge of their own family. Your voice matters. Your joy matters. And you never ever need an invitation to celebrate your own worth. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to be messy. And let me know in the comments what's one messy thing about you that you are proud of.